Do you desire more in your life? You sense God is calling you to more, but you have no idea how to get into more? Hi, I am Shayna Rattler with agodshift.com, and today we are going to be talking about what it is that you need to do in your life when God is calling you to shift. I'm going to be sharing with you the 6 requirements to having greater possibility, greater expectancy, and moving into a greater destiny in our lives. So perhaps you relate to some of these things. Maybe pursuing that thing that you once loved is now feeling like a chore. Maybe you're at a crossroads. Like, do you stay on the same path? Do you move into a different direction? Perhaps your relationships and your opportunities are drying up. Maybe you're burned out and overwhelmed. Like, something in your life is just off, right? Like, you may not know exactly what it is or how to move into a greater place, but you do recognize that where you are now does not feel good and you don't want to stay here. So the good news is that none of these things that you have been experiencing are the real problem. The real problem is that you have not made the right shifts in your life. You have not shifted in the right ways in your life. And you are just one shift away from thriving again. And I can say that with confidence because I've been there in my life. In 2018, when the Lord was calling me to ministry, everything in my business dried up. Like, everything in my business dried up. I was making just a small fraction of the money by April that I typically was. The speaking opportunities were not coming in. Like, bottom line, like, everything was just off. When I implemented these 6 shifts, everything in my life changed. I got my business and my life back on track. I got my income back on track, and more importantly, I got my enthusiasm back. And I want to share with you how you can do the same thing as well. So again, I'm going to share with you the 6 shifts that are going to be required to move into a greater destiny, a greater expectancy, and more possibility. So shift number 1 is that you have to recognize the need to shift. Now, in the beginning of the video, I shared with you some of the signs and symptoms of needing to shift. But when we're being asked to shift, it's not always a negative thing in our lives. Sometimes when God is asking us to shift, we're in a great place. We've made more money than we've ever made in our lives. We've accomplished everything that it is that we have set out to do, and we just can't fight the feeling that there's another level of success with our name on it. But whether things in your life are going well or whether things in your life are going not so well, at some point or another, God is going to ask you to shift. So why is this happening? We're needing to shift because we're pursuing the wrong place. Either it's a physical place, like maybe you're in a job and you need to be in a different job. Perhaps you're in a job and you need to be an entrepreneur. Maybe your physical location, like you need to shift geographically. Maybe you need to shift in your relationships, your energy. Look, bottom line is anything that we are putting energy into that is not on the path that God has planned for us, He is going to shake our lives up to get our attention. Our job is to see what it is that He needs us to see, learn what it is that He needs us to learn, and for many of us, go where it is that He needs us next, okay? So shift number 1 is recognize the need to shift. Shift number 2 is to identify what can get in the way of shifting. Because how many of you know that the devil is not going to just let you walk into your destiny, and God is not going to walk you into your destiny? You are going to have a role to play. So if you think that when God shows you something that you are going to sit back idly and just pray about it and not take action and do anything about it, that's going to keep you from shifting. Fear and doubt can keep you from shifting because doubt and destiny are polar opposites. right? You can't get into destiny if you're full of doubt, whether you doubt God or whether you doubt yourself. And here's what I want you to know. You're already ready, at least ready enough to start. Go back and meditate on Ephesians 2 and 10, where it basically tells us that God created us to do great works. He actually prepared those great works beforehand, right? So that means that everything you need, you already have it. Everything you need, it's already in you. So don't let fear and doubt stop you from shifting into what it is that God has for you. Okay? One of the other things that can keep you from shifting successfully is being shoulded on. SHOULD for the audio. And most times when people should on us, they have great expectations for our lives. They have great intentions for our lives. You know, like you should wait until your kids get out of the house before you start a business. You should focus on your career before you start a family, right? So sometimes other people are shoulding on us, and sometimes we should on ourselves. I know for me personally, it's like, what do you mean you want to be an entrepreneur? You've gone to school to be a therapist. You should just do that, right? One of the other things that is a big, big deal that can actually get in the way of you shifting is being attached to doing things the old way or what it is that you had in mind. And doing things the old way, it's so easy for this to happen. Like, think about it this way. If you have done something the same way for a long time, especially when you've gotten good results, or whether you have been in a certain industry a certain amount of years, it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction for you to continue to do things in that way. So let me give you a little short story about myself when God was asking me to shift into ministry in 2018. He showed me that my ministry was going to consist of preaching and teaching in stadiums, having a television show, and using my gifts to work with celebrities and politicians. I'm doing it like this because I literally saw a vision of it like it was a split screen. Okay? But I made the grave mistake, and it's so easy to do, of taking that new vision and filtering it through old perspective. Because I had been a coach since 2007. So even though I knew what the Lord said, I was like, well, he's probably not going to do that right away. And the word tells us that he blesses what he puts our hands to. So that means that I shouldn't be idle. I need to at least give him something to bless. So I went off and I created a coaching business. And the Lord didn't say anything about coaching. He said stadiums, television shows, celebrities, and politicians. So I could have at least given him a version of the vision to bless. So if you're going to be attached to doing things the way that you've always done them, that's going to keep you from shifting successfully. The other thing is what you had in mind or who you had it in mind to include. The hardest thing to let go of is what we have had in mind. So those are some of the big things. Those are some of the big things that can actually get in the way of you shifting successfully. Shift number 3 is you have to learn how to shift. The first thing that we have to do when we're thinking about how to shift, there's 2 things that we need to do that we're going to talk about. Well, actually 4. Number 1 is make room. What do you need to make room for in your life? What do you need to get rid of? What do you need to clean up? Do you have clutter in your physical space? Do you have clutter in your mind? You have to make room. When you make room in your life, that's when God is able to perform a miracle. Okay? We're in shift number 3, learn how to shift. And the second component is release. We talked about this, but there are many things that are in our lives that no longer serve us, and we need to let go of those things. But one of the most difficult but most important things to do when we're shifting is to let go of the things and the people that no longer serve us. The third component when we're learning how to shift is becoming. Your shifting season is going to be so much more about who you become than what it is that you do. Yet the number one question that we typically ask God is, God, what do you want me to do? Right? And I don't believe it's any mistake that we're called human beings and not human doings. So focus on becoming. My definition of becoming is shedding your weaknesses and actually amplifying your strengths. So if you will focus over the next 30 days on becoming a higher and better version of yourself, the doing will take care of itself. Okay? And then the fourth component of shift number 3 is move. Taking action is going to be required. We know that the scripture tells us that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. But it doesn't make sense for us to ask God to order our steps if we're not going to move our feet. And we have to be willing to move our feet and take steps, even if those steps are laced with uncertainty. Okay? Remember I said earlier that God is the best GPS that is out there. So when you take a step, even if you step in the wrong direction, He will course correct you, He will reroute you, and He will get you back on another path. So remember, the how is none of your business. How you're going to get where it is that God is asking you to go is His business. Taking the first step towards getting there is yours. Okay? So that's shift number 3, learning how to shift. Shift number 4 is count the cost of not shifting. Now, you don't have to shift. You can stay exactly where you are in your life. You don't have to do anything. But let me tell you what it's going to cost you if you don't. It's going to cost you joy. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you money. And it's going to cost you legacy. Okay? So there is a cost for not shifting. And for many of you, if you do shift, it's going to gain you more time, more joy, more money, and more legacy. So doing nothing is going to cost you, but moving forward will earn you. Okay? Shift number 5, decide where to focus your shift. Sometimes God is asking us to focus on our personal lives when we're shifting. Again, who do we need to become? What better character traits do we need to adopt? What character traits do we need to let go of? Right? Are there relationships in our lives that need to improve? So sometimes we're going to be asked to focus on our personal lives, and then other times we're going to be asked to focus on our professional lives. So maybe our careers, there are things that we can do to advance our career. Maybe we need to start a business. Maybe we need to learn how to grow our business, right? And it's not just about being consistent. If you're looking to grow your business, I talked about this on Instagram in a reel about a week ago, is that consistency is no good if you're doing the wrong thing well or the right thing wrong. You have to be doing the right thing right, okay? So it's not just about consistency, it's about doing the right things correctly. And if you don't know what that is, hire a coach. If you're struggling in your personal life, hire a therapist. Hire a life coach, because sometimes we need practical counsel and other times we need spiritual counsel. Sometimes we need both. If it's in your professional career or in your business, hire a coach. Let their losses be your lessons. Okay? Stop trying to figure it out on your own. It's going to take you more time and it's going to cost you more money. Okay? Shift number 6, enlist the right person to help you shift successfully. And I just talked about that, right? So what practical counsel do you need? What spiritual counsel do you need to be able to shift successfully? Because there's no reason for us to build the house and then go back and get the blueprint. There's no reason for us to try to build a roof and walls if we don't have a solid foundation. And enlisting people to help us is going to help ensure that we are putting down the right foundation. Okay? So, again, let's recap this. If we're going to get into greater expectancy, if we're going to get into greater possibility, and if we're going to get into the next level of destiny in our lives, the 6 shifts are: shift number 1, recognize the need to shift. Shift number 2, identify what can get in the way of shifting. Shift number 3, learn how to shift. Make room, release, become, and move. Shift number 4, count the cost of not shifting. Shift number 5, decide where to focus your shift. And shift number 6, enlist the right person to help you shift successfully. Okay? So again, it doesn't matter if you are in a great place in your life when God is asking you to shift, or if your life is in shambles. Today is the day to start shifting. And these are going to be the 6 shifts that are going to be required in order for you to do so successfully. Okay? And this is just another way that we can begin to walk in our authority as believers. So beginning today, unlock your kingdom authority so you can confidently enter your next chapter to have more, be more, and do more.